Hello YouTubers, and welcome to my very first YouTube video. So yeah, there'll be a few mistakes, but I'll try to be succinct. What I have here are the batteries that I took out of my Yamaha G29 2007. Now you'll notice there's 4 batteries here. They're all 12 volt, so when they're hooked in series they go for 48 volts. Now this setup was, I think, 2007 to 2010, and then after that Yamaha went to 6 8-cell or 8-volt batteries, which 8 times 6 in series is 48 too. So this one's the 4, but you could probably do the same with the 6 batteries too. And what I'm going to do here today is, these batteries are at the end of their life, and I started looking at lithiums. And these lithiums at bigbattery.com are really reasonable. In fact, the one I bought was for $950. It about equaled what that power output was for those. Now, I'm not being technical here, just close enough. It would give me like 15 miles, I think, on one charge. But Big Battery, I guess, ran out of those, and so they gave me another type, their Badger series, which doubles it, so I should get 30 miles out of a charge, which is pretty good. Anyway, I got started on this a little bit too far along before I decided to say, hey, let's do a video, a YouTube video. So I just kind of wanted to give everyone the lay of the land if you're trying to do this on your own. These were the 4 batteries through here, stacked up as you can tell. The positive side goes to the solenoid that's here, and it also had an ignition wire going up to the switch. That was on the positive side, and on the negative side over here, that goes to the power controller here. Now you can see that this one's got kind of a special footing. It goes down It goes down to the motor, but then it also goes to the battery. So I'm going to try to reuse that one if I can. And again, we had the ignition switch on that end, and then we also had a starter charger. So this is the charger port that goes up into here that you plug your charger into there. And here's the red side here, and that also goes to there. So except for that, the only other hookups or wires that you need to worry about is the lights here and the negative for them. And then we had the accessory, which is what we use to charge our phones with, and those are going through here. So I have to tell you, in my naivety, I forgot about the fact that we're a 48 volt, and this new big batteries come in 48 volts only. So I totally forgot about the fact that I'm going to have 12 volts for my auxiliary switch and 12 volts for the lights, because all the lighting package comes in 12 volts. So what I planned on doing is mounting the 2 new lithium batteries. Are going to be mounted here, and these are the power cords for them. So you put 2 of them together, it goes into this connection fitting, and then from this connection fitting here they go to the solenoid there, and then to the power cable over there. So the way I planned on doing this now is that I'm going to be taking the power cords out of the batteries that are going to be facing here, and I'm going to put them into a terminal block on each side for there. Then from the terminal block we'll go to a step-down transformer, or I think it's called a buck transformer, and we're going to take the 48 volts, go down to 12, and then we're going to put a small little circuit breaker box here and hook these wires there and there into that. I might take the buck transformer, I'm going to look underneath and try to see if I can fit it underneath, because it does get warm. I might leave a little bit of a gap and let air flow over it instead of staying inside of here. So we'll give that a shot. Now let me show you the batteries. So here's the 2 batteries that I was going to get. As I said, originally I was going to get 3, but they were a lot smaller. They were only about this long, and I was going to be able to put them in the 3 little bays and have one left over. As it turns out, these are bigger, they have more power. But what I'm going to do is I took off, if you can see here, these have a little carrying strap on each side. So what I did is unscrew them and take the carrying strap off, and I took the carrying strap off of this side out, and I'm going to take these two together and shove them together like that. Power's going to come out of here. I'm going to take and bring it here to the terminal block. So the only kind of real work that I had to do was in the area here of the box. Unfortunately, the length from here to here of the box was, if you can believe this, 1/4 of an inch too shy. So and in width here, this way, if I took those two cables off that I showed you before, they'll fit right in between it. So what I did is I went and used just one of those vibratory saws and just cut through them with a regular saw blade through there. In order to make this work, I had to gain about 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch from here at the edge to here. Now, as you can tell, there was some hold downs here for the battery clips that fit the old batteries. This here is about 1/2 of an inch. This here is about 1.5 inches. So what I'm going to do is I only took and I cut this down about 5/8 of an inch so that we cut this out, because I wanted to make sure I kept the structural integrity of this floorboard. And I'm going to take and place in here and in here some plastic or some composite or something so that we're flush with this. So our battery's only going to sit they'll only sit down in here 1 inch. But it should work fine. That way the circuit breakers that are on the back are going to be back here that you can flip them on and off. On front you can see the charge output, and also that will be where the connections go for it. So hopefully this will all work out. One of the issues that I kind of liked about this particular deck here is that it's nice preform, kind of a composite plastic. So there's not as much issue with battery acid. That being said, before I put this all back, I think I'm going to spray a little bit of water and baking soda just to deneutralize any possibilities of acid and corrosion. So I'm going to hit this area here like this with water, and then I'm going to take and see if I can do this by hand. I'm going to take and spread some baking soda all over the area here. And again, I'm just trying to get a good cleaning and neutralize any sort of acid that might be there, and make sure we get it nice and clean. So we'll just work this in a little bit and then rub it out. Okay, so I'm through washing it with baking soda and water, and probably didn't need to do it that much. If you're familiar with this, you usually get some fizzling done when the baking soda hits the battery acid, but we didn't get any here, so things were probably pretty good, but we cleaned them up nicely, and so now we're going to start putting things back together. See if we can get this thing working. Okay, so now I'm starting to put it together, and the plan here is to have these terminal blocks here, and I've fastened those to the frame from underneath that I'll show you. And I'm going to show you a few other things just before I get too far and cover all this stuff up. But basically, all these wires are going to go to a terminal block. These are going to be a 48 volt terminal block, and I'm going to take and put a buck transformer down below. Going to have it come up, tie into here for power, and then we're going to go to a small circuit breaker panel for all the 12 volt. Okay, so like I said, we're got the car jacked up on jacks too. Got the jack here as a safety, but have them on kickstand jacks like right here on each one of these terminals. So the plan here now is to take this buck transformer here, and it's from 48 volts to 12 volts. And the heat sink in here can get kind of warm, so what I plan on doing is taking and mounting it like this so that the air that flows from underneath the cart can go into there and cool it. These wires here are going to come up through the board. One's going to hook into the 48 volt terminal blocks there, and the other is going to hook into my 12 volt little circuit breaker panel. So when you see this again, I'll have the buck transformer mounted here and the wires going through, so you'll be able to see what's going on there. I now have the buck converter installed, and as you can tell, I took and put it up into between the two through the deck. Now I left out this one power wire, and like all things in this project, I got to thinking about this buck converter, and if I just powered it to the terminal block, that wouldn't work because it would be on all the time and drain the battery 24/7. So I went to look for a relay, and there's not a lot of 48 volt relays around here, but you could find them 30 amps and 40 amps. Of course, this is only got rated for 20, and I could put an inline fuse to it. But in speaking and looking for some of these relays, I talked to Woody's Golf Carts in Turlock, California, and they were nice enough to hook me up with one of their mechanics. And if I take this wire here, which is just the power wire, and move it and hook it onto this side of the solenoid, it'll do the same thing as I was going to have the relay do. And that is that when I turn the key on, only then will power come, because the power gets to here. It'll pull to the solenoid with the key on, and then we will have power to the buck converter. And when I turn the key off, it'll go away, which is what I wanted to do with the switch or the relay. So all good there. And thanks to Woody's Golf Carts in Turlock, California for their help. So as you can see, this is where the wires came up here for the buck converter, and I have the one ground here along with the power that's going to end up here. And that supplies power to the buck converter. And then on the 12 volt side, we bring negative to here, and the power side or positive to there. Now later on, I will take and hook these wires and these wires for the accessories, and we'll hook them into here and put the circuit breakers in. Next item is the charger circuit. Charger circuit, as you know, goes through here, comes down. Again, you might have seen it comes up through here, and that is going to be onto my terminals here. I then plan on doing the negative to the power controller, which is right here below there. Not this one, but this one here. That'll be there, and then we'll have another one that goes up to this side here for the power side. We're just about there now, and I hope for my sake this is the last time I've got to get underneath this cart. So we'll start with the cart here. We're pretty much all taken care of here as far as the wiring goes. I'll give you a little rundown here. Keep in mind that the buck transformer here, the red wire that you see there, so that gets the power for it. The rest of it's going to the circuit breakers. This wire through here is for the charger wires that go to the terminals, 48 volt terminals, and this here is the ignition wires go from the switch. Oh, I forgot about doing one last thing here, didn't I? Well, I'm going to have to get back underneath here and cut that off. Damn. Oh well, it's not fun getting old. Anyway, so now we're getting close to getting the batteries put in. I've got the, this is the line coming up from the buck. I think I talked about this before. Positive, negative. Now I've got the circuits in. These two are for the tail lights and for the headlights. And this one here is for the cigarette lighter, which we use to charge, cell phones and stuff like that. And here's the negative side to that. I haven't put the circuit breakers in. I will later, and then this will light up if there's a fault. And that leaves us, as you can see, I went and got, this is the charger wires that are here. Existing charger wires, I just cleaned them up, tucked it back in here with a tie wrap just to pull it back in. And now we have the main terminal area. So the main terminal, this again goes up to the battery, okay? It goes all the way up to the, I'm sorry, not to the battery, to the solenoid, my bad. Now there's a fuse in here. That's fuse is for a fusible link for the wire for the buck transformer. I figured, what the hell. So this is where that cable wire goes, and this is where the buck transformer goes, so you can see. So this will get power when the ignition's turned on, because power will come from the battery terminal through here and go across to the terminal there, supplying power to the buck terminal, or the buck, the lower terminal that steps down the power from 48 to 12 volt. So about the only thing we have left to do, I've got the negative side here tied in. Here is the charger positive from over here, and here is the negative, and that again is from over here. So when we plug it in, it'll charge the battery up. Ignition circuits here. That's from the key. That's the negative side, and then on the positive side, I also put in a another fuse holder on that just to cover my bases. So after all that, the only thing I have left to do now is to get the batteries, put them in place, and then hook them to these two terminals that are left. So we're just about there now, and I hope, for my sake, this is the last time I've got to get underneath this cart. So we'll start with the cart here. We're pretty much all taken care of here as far as the wiring goes. I'll give you a little rundown here. Keep in mind that the buck transformer here, the red wire that you see there, that red wire goes up. So that gets the power for it. The rest of it's going to the circuit breakers. This wire through here is for the charger wires that go to the terminals, 48 volt terminals. And this here is the ignition wires, go from the switch. Oh, I forgot about doing one last thing here, didn't I? Well, I'm going to have to get back underneath here and cut that off. Damn. Oh well, it's not fun getting old. Anyway, so now we're getting close to getting the batteries put in. I've got the, this is the line coming up from the buck. I think I talked about this before. Positive, negative. Now I've got the circuits in. These two are for the tail lights and for the headlights. And this one here is for the cigarette lighter, which we use to charge, cell phones and stuff like that. And here's the negative side to that. I haven't put the circuit breakers in. I will later, and then this will light up if there's a fault. And that leaves us, as you can see, I went and got, this is the charger wires that are here. Existing charger wires, I just cleaned them up, tucked it back in here with a tie wrap just to pull it back in. And now we have the main terminal area. So the main terminal, this again goes up to the battery, okay? It goes all the way up to the, I'm sorry, not to the battery, to the solenoid, my bad. Now there's a fuse in here. That's fuse is for a fusible link for the wire for the buck transformer. I figured, what the hell. So about the only thing we have left to do, I've got the negative side here tied in. Here is the charger positive from over here, and here is the negative, and that again is from over here, so when we plug it in, it'll charge the battery up. Ignition circuits here, that's from the key, that's the negative side, and then on the positive side I also put in a another fuse holder on that just to cover my bases. So after all that, the only thing I have left to do now is to get the batteries, put them in place, and then hook them to these two terminals that are left. One last point that I wanted to bring up was about the battery placement. So before you see it in place and hooked up, keep in mind that when we spoke about this, there was this difference here. And so I'm going to fur this up, what we call in the construction business. We're going to fur it up. And I just need something that's inert and it's not going to rot. Like plywood, you know, moisture gets in it, it's not probably good. So plastic, composite. We had some leftover hardy plank flush siding like this. So it's about 3/8 of an inch. This is about I don't know, 9/16, half inch to a 9/16. This depth here. So what I do is I took two of these and I'm about 1/8 of an inch off of that. So I'm going to take and put two of them here. I'm going to put two of them here, and then the batteries are going to sit in this little, what's left of the well, right here. And then I'm going to take some straps and strap from here over the batteries and then down inside of it. And I'm going to use some old strap that I had laying around. Yeah, it's cheap, but you know, it does the job. So next time you see this, we're going to be hooked up, ready to go. We are ready. Let's keep your fingers crossed, huh? So, this is the bigbattery.com Badger unit installed. These circuit breakers on the back area, there's a circuit breaker in the back of each one of those, are not turned on yet. But we're all powered up, hooked up, and we're going to see if I don't get a big spark here, huh? Let's everyone cross your fingers. And we'll go fire up these units. Yes, okay, a little makeshift here, but got the job done. Circuit breakers are back here. One's on, two's on. Okay, so far so good. So, let's see what kind of volts we got here. All right, 48.2, and that's 48. Yep, that's a 4. Let's see if I turn the key, if we get the solenoid to click, because that would mean my buck transformer's working. Cross your fingers. Uh-oh. Well, all right. Something's not right here. Let's see if we can charge the battery, huh? Regular charger. Heard it clicked on. Okay, so 48.3. It's 48.4 now. Let's see if we can get this thing up. It should get up to like 51. And then I'll work on my other issue about the solenoid not working. Get back to you. Well, give me a couple of minutes and I think I can figure it out. So I'm going to undo the charger. It's still charging, but I'm going to take it off just to see if we can get this thing working. One thing to keep in mind, the tow haul. What an idiot. Now, there we go, baby. You heard that click? Yes, yes. So now we're cooking with gas. Yes, yes, yes. All right, next video is us going very, very fast. Well, there's an old saying, you get what you pay for. And as much as I appreciate the information from the guy at the golf cart place about powering up the auxiliary sports here, and powering up the buck transformer, if you remember, he had me hook it up to this post here. Well, the problem with that is that it's only on when the cart goes. So, you know, I want to charge up my batteries and my phone, stuff like that, be able to use this. So in order to do that, I need a constant power once the ignition is on. So I downloaded the manual for this model and went through all of it, and was thinking about doing the relay like we talked about. But after all of that, I just figured, why not just go to the ignition switch? There was already a tie onto the ignition switch here that went to the that powered the charger right here, or I'm not the charger, but the charger gauge. So I just went and put another one on it right here and went underneath it and then came up. There's the green wire right there. You might see it there. Went underneath it, came up, and then just unhooked it from here and made a little tab connection there with it. And it works fine. So with that done, I'm going to clean this up and we're going to get going. So YouTubers, this is the end of my very first video. I know there's a lot of errors, but I hope you got the general idea. Got the two batteries installed. They're at 50.1 and 50.0 volts. Got the circuit breaker box on here. You see I've got them identified. Even got some space here and here if I wanted to add a small stereo or something, but keep in mind that buck transformer that I've got is only 20 amps, rated for 20 amps. So got a lot of storage space down here now. 2 full bays. I'll probably put in a tub or something to keep that neat inside of here and put it back together. So let's take it for a test drive. Turn this baby on and let's see how we do here. Ooh, nice pickup. Very good pickup. Before, when we had this unit, I had about 17 miles an hour is the most I got it to. So I've got a little speedometer here, and we'll see what we can get going to on the straightaways. Well, let's see, I'm at 17, about my max. Now I got to 18. 18's not bad. But it looks like that's about maxed out, between 18 and... So, the Lithiums didn't give me any more top speed, but I'm hoping that it's going to give me a lot more longevity, and also a lot less maintenance, and easier to keep it charged up. Other than that, if I want to go and do something else, I could put in a controller from a 270 watt controller that's in here now up to a 300. But other than that, a successful project. Thanks for watching.